Cholera, an ailment that sounds ancient but still very much around in modern days. Cholera doesn't care about age or tribe. Anytime it can strike. In Nigeria, cholera epidemic has not been consistent, but the disease is very dynamic. The emergence of cholera was first evident in 1970 and later re-emerged in 1991. Let's recall January 2022. A total of 470 suspected cases, including 9 deaths, were reported from 10 states. Ironically, between January and June 11th this year, the Nigerian Center for Disease Control and Prevention has confirmed 1,159 suspected cases in 30 states, with more than 30 deaths in 10 states. All cases, both in 2022 and 2024, occurred between January to June. You get what I'm saying now? With deaths recorded in 10 states. That's just an observation. The Director General, Nigeria Center for Disease Control and Prevention, Dr. Jide Idris, confirms that the cases that occurred between January and June 11, 2024 were reported from 96 local government areas in 30 states, and 10 states contributed 90% to the burden of cholera, which include Bayelsa, Zamfara, Abia, Cross River, Bauchi, Delta, Katsina, Imo, Nasarawa, and Lagos states. It is really a challenging time for some of the states with high burden of cholera cases. However, it is not time for lamentation, but to take action in preventing the spread. And talking about prevention, what are the measures that must be taken to curtail the spread of cholera? This is the reason we're having a guest in the studio, Dr. Isaac Abuja, a public health expert, to give us some tips in preventing cholera outbreak in our homes. This is an issue that concerns all of us, so please stay back on this channel. Welcome to Panorama. I'm Ruth Aguele. The Federal Ministry of Environment has expressed concern about the ongoing cholera outbreak in some states of Nigeria, which has tragically claimed many lives and affected many communities. A statement signed by the Minister of State for Environment, Isiaq Salako, says recent situation from the Nigeria Center for Disease Control shows 1,159 suspected cases, 65 confirmed cases, and 30 deaths across 30 states. Bayelsa, Lagos, Zamfara, Abia, Bauchi, Cross River, Ebonyi, Delta, and Katsina are mostly affected. The statement adds that the Federal Ministry of Environment is actively involved through the Department of Pollution Control and Environmental Health and the Environmental Health Officers Registration Council of Nigeria to break further transmission of the deadly disease through water and food testing to identify sources of infection, environmental sanitation campaigns, and household water chlorination, while arrangements are also being made to support states mostly affected by the outbreak with chlorine solution, tablets, water and food testing resources, REC materials, and technical advisory. The Federal Ministry of Environment says sustainable human and environment interaction is key to cholera prevention and control, urging the public on cholera preventive and control measures to avert further spread and strengthen collaboration with the health authorities and other stakeholders in line with One Health approach of the federal government of Nigeria. Cholera, a poor sanitation and poor hygiene-driven disease, is an acute diarrhea infection caused by ingestion of unwholesome food or water contaminated. All right, let's bring in our guest now, Dr. Isaac Abuja, a public health expert. Thank you so much, Doctor, for joining us on Panorama.
My pleasure. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. It's a very serious issue, the cholera. We're seeing it spreading across states, and we're hearing numbers of deaths, being recorded. How challenging would you say this burden is for the country, especially at this time?
It is a challenge because this is rainy season and there is flow of water. And this disease called cholera is transmitted through water. It's a waterborne disease. And the next problem that we have also is the fact that in many states, there is still practice of open defecation. By this we mean that people who defecate in open places, the feces are carried along by water, and therefore the sources of drinking water or even bathing water are contaminated. And when this happens, the bacteria is ingested and acute diarrhea results, and the person then becomes very dehydrated very quickly, becomes nauseated, and vomiting takes place also.
Okay, so let's just delve to the preventive measures. We're seeing intervention by the federal government, to ease the burden for some of these states that are mostly affected. What are the preventive measures? Children, even for adults, nobody's left out.
Yes, the most important prevention at this point is for people to observe personal and environmental hygiene and sanitation. By personal hygiene, I mean that we wash hands as frequently as possible, especially before we eat and after we eat. We make sure that anything we eat is washed, especially things that are not cooked before eating. And even if food is going to be cooked, let it be cooked properly. Those who cook must wash their hands properly. The utensils that are used for cooking must be clean, and our environment must also be very clean. And I also talked about sanitation, and I just mentioned open defecation, which is a challenge to our communities at this point. We should make sure that people do not defecate in the open, where water would carry feces and then contaminate sources of drinking water.
Okay, and mostly we hear where this cholera outbreak is very common is in local government, like communities, the rural areas. What would be your recommendation to regulatory organizations, to reach out to those communities that are mostly affected in terms of sanitation and preventive measures?
Yes, the most important thing is for the rural people or the communities that are affected to know what causes this problem and how it can be prevented.
Yeah.
And if you help them with the information and the means of prevention, meaning you provide them with clean and safe water, and you provide them with also toilets so that they don't defecate in the open, and also you, if possible, if chlorine is available, give them chlorine with which to purify their water. And if that is not available, they can also boil their water.
And then taking it back to our homes, practical examples you can give us. You just mentioned, boiling your water. What else in terms of the environment? I know you mentioned some of those preventive measures, but let's give practical examples, especially for a home that has children. Children they will always play. They will always be children.
Yes. That is a challenge too.
Yeah.
You have toddlers or who are playing and putting everything they see in their mouths. You should make sure at this time that you try as much as possible to keep them clean, to restrict them from playing widely, and also make sure that anything that you are giving a child to eat is properly checked, is boiled, is clean, and is free of any suspicion of contamination.
Now, for someone just watching and wondering, what if this happened? We're not trying to be pessimistic here. What if this happens to the person? Are they, is there a treatment to cholera?
Yes.
In case for those who don't know.
Yes, that's a very good question.
Okay.
If for any reason somebody gets cholera, in other words, starts this acute diarrhea with vomiting, nausea, and dehydration, the first thing to do is to give them oral rehydration therapy. Oral rehydration therapy, there are sachets of it, but if you don't have the sachet, you can boil water, and in a cup of water, put 1 teaspoon, small spoon of salt and 5 of sugar, if you have, for 1 liter. 1 liter, and then mix it very well, and you can give it to people to drink. That means that the salt that you put is an electrolyte. The sugar is also a means of carrying the water to the cells.
Okay, because the cholera symptoms now, what would you say is the cholera symptom? Because most times when people are faced with this stooling and vomiting and all of that, which we're all conversant with, there's this self-medication people just delve into, talking about taking a tablet called zinc and all of that, even giving children. How would you address that?
I wouldn't advise that. Okay. What I will advise that people do is that whether it is an adult or it's a child, whoever has a suspected case of cholera should drink as much as possible. And when I say drink as much as possible, I mean only water. I'm not encouraging alcohol. I'm not encouraging soft drinks or those kinds of stuff. I'm talking of water. Water that is already purified, water that is already boiled and cooled, that people can take to replace the one that is lost through the diarrhea.
Okay, and then at the states and community level, interventions on a broader perspective, what would you advise
yes.
the subnational, for interventions? We hear of chlorine solution tablets and all of that. What would you, very briefly, Doctor?
Yes, at community level, since if they have a collective source of water, they should try to purify that source of water that is for the community and distribute it to everybody. So that they don't go looking for their own source of water. That's where they get into trouble. And make sure that they get the knowledge, the information. Make sure their food is clean. Anything that is raw must be properly washed. And if they have salt, they can use salt in water to wash their fruits, their vegetables, their food before they eat.
Even meat, I hear.
Yes.
Okay.
Even meat too. And if they are going to eat meat, let it be boiled. Nobody should eat raw meat.
Thank you so much, Doctor. We do appreciate this education you've given us. Thank you so much. I've also picked 1 or 2 things from that. He is a public expert, Dr. Isaac Abuja. Thank you so much for your time.
My pleasure.
All right. Let's take a break while we ponder on all these remedies.
The counsel of our fathers.
I will urge and advise our younger generation to use talent and brain to sort out problems, not arms.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation.
My advice to these young people is please do not take us back to those harrowing days. You probably do not know what it is.
I believe we have fought one civil war too many in this country. So those who experience it will run away from it.
Nigerian youths, let's build our nation together.
Glad to know you stayed. Solid Minerals Development Minister Dele Alake commends President Bola Tinubu for supporting reforms in the solid minerals sector, assuring that the National Gold Purchase Program will increase the country's reserve and boost the Naira's value. Presenting the symbolic latest gold bar sourced from artisanal and small gold miners refined by an agency of the ministry, the Solid Minerals Development Fund, to meet the London Bullion Market Association good delivery standard that was recently, Alake said the refined gold would be sold to the Central Bank of Nigeria to bolster foreign reserves. Alake added that the event marks the first commercial transaction under the National Gold Purchase Program, the centralized offtake scheme supported by a decentralized aggregation and production network of artisanal and small-scale miners and cooperatives. He pointed out that this has increased the nation's foreign reserves assets and shown that using Nigerian naira to purchase a liquid asset traded in United States dollars, such as gold, is a viable strategy. Alake added that this transaction has also underscored the potential of the National Gold Purchase Program to enhance fiscal and monetary stability. President Tinubu commended the ministry for achieving a major milestone and acknowledges that this is another concrete step towards the diversification process under the Renewed Hope agenda. In other news, former President Olusegun Obasanjo says wealth creation projects by government at all levels will kick out poverty and joblessness among Nigerians. He stated this while performing the groundbreaking ceremony of Owerri Central Market Project being executed by Imo State government in partnership with private investors. Kingsley Ononiwo reports.
The Owerri Central Market Project was conceived in 1976 but never saw the light of day following its abandonment by successive administrations in Imo State until the current governor, Hope Uzodima's administration, decided to revive the all-important project. Speaking at the groundbreaking ceremony, former President Olusegun Obasanjo noted that an initiative such as the market project, when completed, will create job opportunities and economic development.
Over 2,000 market stalls with adequate warehouses, with adequate security, electronic and physical, and it will be opportunity to create job, opportunity to create wealth.
A conducive atmosphere for the traders that will be resident here to do their businesses in a more hygienic environment and boost the economy of not only the community, not only the local government, not only the state, not only the Nigerian economy, and the global economy.
The governor also assured that all illegal constructions and buildings that constitute obstructions to the project must be demolished.
Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Yusuf Tugar, has launched 4D Cultural Diplomacy Program in Beijing, aimed at deepening trade opportunities and nurturing mutual understanding between Nigeria and China. The Foreign Affairs Minister stated that this initiative is part of President Tinubu's Renewed Hope agenda. A joint statement of the first plenary session of the Intergovernmental Committee with its Chinese counterpart says both countries reviewed the positive outcomes achieved since the establishment of diplomatic relations between China and Nigeria in the past 50 years. Jointly, they have reached a consensus of planned future development of the bilateral relations, exchanged views on China-Africa relations, and major international and regional issues of mutual interest. The statement confirmed both agreed to work towards good governance and democratic values, peace, security and stability in the Sahel region, and recognized Nigeria's leading role in the fight against terrorism and other related trans-border crimes. The two countries also agreed that necessary efforts towards ensuring economic viability of the region would be pursued through infrastructure development and sectoral cooperation. Death is often described as inevitable end to every mortal. However, the demise of a spouse and a breadwinner is a different ballgame altogether. Now, this brings to mind the need to recognize and address the plights and challenges faced by these seemingly voiceless segment of the society. The world recently marked International Widows' Day. Ngozi Teknikio in this report explores the opinions of some widows on societal perception and response to their ordeals.
The death of a spouse brings tragedy that crumbles the world of the surviving mates. Most vulnerable are women. It comes unannounced and at times so sudden. A once happy glowing face or family becomes dejected and frustrated, deprived of hope and happiness. The experiences of the victims appear unimaginable.
I've been a widow for 20 years. I have 4 boys. For me, my husband said I should stay, no work. I should not work, that he is a man, he will be able to take care of me and the children. Eventually, he died.
I'm 24 years as a widow and I have 4 boys. My first son was 10 years when my husband died. My last baby was 2 years. He didn't even know his father.
So when it comes to the issue of widow, there is a stigma that people attach to widows, and they don't know that it can happen to every person. Every woman is a potential widow.
On the role and perception of the society towards widows, the story seems not to have changed much.
We have so many family friends, so many of them. But as soon as my husband died, as soon as they heard about his death, everybody, I turned a liability to somebody.
And so, interventions such as these are designed to ameliorate the hardships that widows go through, considering the current economic realities. Investigation has it that Nigeria accounts for over 8 million widows from the global statistics of 258 million, according to the United Nations. Hence, the reason behind stipulating 23rd of June every year as International Widows' Day to galvanize support to end the plights of widows and their children. The theme for this year is accelerating the achievements of gender equality with emphasis on strengthening land and property rights of widows. Ngozi Technical, NTA News.
All right, let's lend a helping hand to widows out there. The renewed hope initiative of President Bola Tinubu to uplift the downtrodden in the society has played out on Amina Tijani, who received the empowerment package to boost her hairdressing skills to the next level. The gesture came from the Minister of Women Affairs and the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Vocational, Technical and Entrepreneurship Education. Here is Ngozi Technical again with that report.
The atmosphere was that of shock to many onlookers as they watched young Amina in an emotional hug to welcome her August visitors, though in the month of June. The arrival of the fully installed solar kiosks, in addition to a cash award of 500,000 naira, came to Amina, a hairstylist in her mid-20s, as a shock and the biggest surprise she will ever imagine, as she struggled with the right words to express her gratitude.
Throughout my life, I've never been given so much. I'm overly happy, very happy.
Among other things, their benefactors explained that the gesture was not an isolated case, even when Amina's own was exceptional.
When Abiola, the SSA to Mr. President, called me and said, I have a kiosk I want to give you for women. I thought about it. Who do I think will utilize this? That's when I remembered Amina, who has been suffering for quite a while. So that's how I called Abiola, that I've gotten somebody I would like this thing to be given to.
So the Honorable Minister told me so much about her, so I was so moved that we decided to give her double portion, both the kiosks that we actually physically made. Normally we either give you grants or a solar kiosk, but we're giving her both because of her passion, where she started from. And we intend to empower different women across the country.
On watching the scenario, onlookers could not help but shower commendations on the actors behind the scene. The SSA to the President also extended her hands of fellowship to others who want to be trained or expand on their skills. Ngozi Technical, NTA News.
All right, it's been a wet Monday in Abuja and the fear of flash flood almost every year. However, some areas are prone to flood, especially Trademore Estate and the FCT here. And our correspondent, Onotu Yakubo, is standing by to give us an update. Onotu Yakubo, Onotu, please tell us, what's the situation, coming to work this morning? Everywhere was so wet. Where you're from, where you're standing at the moment, what can you tell us?
Standing at the Trademore Estate, of course.
Now there is quite poor, but I'm sure he's reporting from, okay, can we see if we can hear him? All right, let's see if we can hear him.
Used to be brought to bear the reality that has become is the divisional police station, which was practically overtaken this morning. And of course, the road itself speaks to the reality.
Okay. Honor too, we sincerely apologize for the signal there. He's reporting from Trademore Estate. If you're staying in Abuja, you know the challenges, people who stay in that estate is at Lugbe axis, phase, and it's really, really challenging. And of course, calls for concern anytime there is rains. And that's Panorama. Thank you for your time. I'm Ruth Agwele. Bye.